got some very strange stuff here. Tucker Carlson has a video up now on YouTube entitled "San Francisco will pay $190K to undocumented immigrant." Now, what this is about is a guy had a car stolen, and he went to the police department, and the police department did in fact get his car back, but the police department also just happened to notice that he was an illegal alien. And so let me get this thing here up. So this the police department called the ICE, which is Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, and ICE arrested the guy, and he's still around to be interviewed, so I guess they didn't even deport him, but whatever they did with him anyway. San Francisco has a city ordinance that says it's a sanctuary city. And now people are asking about this. What's going on? Okay, so let me give you the background, just general legal theory. To you, a city is probably a place where there's a bunch of stores and houses and stuff. But to a lawyer, that's not what a city is at all. A city is actually a corporation, pretty much. That is, it's in other words, a stack of paper. Okay, that is filed with the state, and which, by authorizing that the city be incorporated, the state creates the city and gives it some legal authority. And it gives it, obviously, no more legal authority than what the state has to give. Right? I mean, this, it's like, I can tell you, yeah, you can come in here in my house and cook some ramen noodles on my stove. But I can't tell you that you can go to my next door neighbor's house and cook ramen noodles on his stove. I could ask him. I can't tell him. Okay. California created the city of San Francisco and incorporated it, and gave it a usual sort of a package deal of, it's kind of like, well, okay, if you're a city now, we'll give you all this stuff here. It's way more than that, but we'll give you all this. And it authorizes the city to make city ordinances, okay? And so the city made an ordinance that said it's a sanctuary city, and you can't give up illegal aliens like an law officer in the city can't give up an illegal alien to the federal government. That is a power that California didn't have, and therefore couldn't grant to San Francisco, and therefore San Francisco doesn't have it, which means that the San Francisco ordinance is void as a matter of United States constitutional law. And that is specifically handled in what's called the Supremacy Clause. And if you want to read a bunch of legal junk, I was a lawyer, so I've done lots of this, but you can look it up. You just Google the Supremacy Clause, all you have to do. And I promise it'll be boring, and there'll be a lot of cases, and it'll take a whole lot of time, and it won't be much fun. But it's more fun than being a lawyer. there's very few things that aren't. The Supremacy Clause says, "This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof," that's that'll be made by permission of the Constitution is what that pursuance business is. "And all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby," shall be bound thereby, "anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding." Okay, it don't get much clearer than that. It doesn't matter what the state says. If it violates the Constitution or a federal law, which is promulgated in pursuance with the Constitution of the United States, then can't do it. Lawyers always look at what the Supreme Court does with constitutional issues, because it's really hard to say what a statute means until the court gets done deciding, and then even if you don't really like the way the court interpreted it, that's just tough luck. So I found a case, Edgar v. Might, 457 U.S. 624, 1982, and the Supreme Court ruled a state statute is void to the extent that it actually conflicts with a valid federal statute. That's in quotes. And then the article says, "In effect, this means that a state law will be found to violate the Supremacy Clause when either of the two following conditions or both exist. Compliance with both the federal and state laws is impossible." You've got that in this case, because you either comply with the federal law regarding immigration, or you comply with the sanctuary law. They are in direct conflict. So it's like the big boss said, don't serve that guy any whiskey, and the guy orders a whiskey, and the bartender says, "Oh, he can have a whiskey." No, because the CEO has already said, "Don't give that guy any whiskey," and it's in direct conflict. So that's simple enough. And then the other ground is state law stands as an obstacle to the accomplishment and execution of the full purposes and objectives of Congress. Yeah, I mean, that's a slam dunk too, but basically they're saying that if it's in the way of what Congress is trying to do, well, of course it's meant to be in the way of what Congress is trying to do. Okay, so the sanctuary ordinance, first of all, I don't think California ever authorized any such ordinance. If California did authorize such an ordinance, that authorization would be void under the Supremacy Clause. Okay, and what that means, this is kind of a strange concept, and maybe you almost have to be a lawyer to think this way, but a statute that is unconstitutional is not the law. You can't enforce it. In fact, you'll see these cases where they sue, like the sheriff or something. This seemed really, really strange to anybody that's not a lawyer, but they can like sue a sheriff because the county enforced a state law that is void under the U.S. Constitution because he can't say it's the law because it's not the law. Now, in practice, the sheriff's going to be indemnified by the state or the county, so it's not like he's really going to pay with his own money, but his name is going to be on the paperwork for that case. He will be the defendant in that case, and the judgment will be said to be against him, even though, in fact, he won't be the one that writes the check when it all comes down. Sanctuary cities. Unconstitutional, violate the federal constitution. San Francisco had absolutely no obligation to pay that guy 1 penny out of that $190,000. Nor does it have a right to do anything to the cops who turned him into INS ICE, because that's what you're supposed to do. ICE is Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. It used to be INS, which is Immigration and Naturalization Service. And I don't know what they changed their name and a whole lot of letterhead and spent a whole lot of money on, putting new signs up on all the doors and on the buildings and all that kind of stuff when they became part of Homeland Security, which I don't know why they had to be part of Homeland Security. I don't even know why there is a Homeland Security. But those are political decisions. So, that's all I got for you.